Hello, Guardians, and welcome to the Destiny IT Pros Podcast, brought to you by FrontPoint IT, Utah's premier managed services provider. Find us online at frontpoint-it.com. Hello, Guardians. It is Tuesday, October 13th, 2015, which means it's time for another one of these podcasts, and also time for the weekly reset in the tower, as well as what seems like Bungie's weekly updates. So let's go through the reset really quick. We've got some stuff going on. So we've got the weekly Nightfall as a Fallen Saber is this week's strike with Arcburn. Match game, so the damage to enemy shields that are not the same element is highly reduced.
Awesome. Okay.
Catapult, which is actually in favor of Guardians, and Exposure, again, one of my least favorite modifiers.
You know, the exposure one kills me with the Nightfall. You know, they sit there and they say, oh, you know, we're going to make the Nightfall so you don't, wipe and get kicked all the way back to orbit because people are playing too tentatively. But then they go and they add exposure. I mean, if you want a modifier that's going to slow people down, think twice about, jumping out and, going rampaging through a bunch of bad guys, throw exposure on there where your shield doesn't regenerate.
Yeah, but you can still be revived, so at the very least.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how I looked at it. Is at least you can be revived and at least you don't get kicked to orbit. You just have to restart that checkpoint.
Cool.
And then Court of Oryx for this week, the Tier 3 boss is Thalnok, Fanatic of Crota, otherwise known as Mini Crota.
Okay.
So that's the antiquated rune summon on the Court of Oryx. Pretty fun. And then Prison of Elders, nobody cares. So what happened this morning? What did we see? Well, it wasn't this morning. I guess it was more like this afternoon for our time, which is Mountain Standard Time.
Yeah, it kicked off around noonish, 1-ish, somewhere around noon.
When we came back from lunch, it was
We started lunch early, though.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, noonish.
Yeah,
probably 11 Pacific Standard Time.
They kicked out the new update, and the new little store, whose name escapes me at the moment, which I know you'll remember, Jeremy.
Eververse Trading Company.
Eververse Trading Company went online, and we got the new currency, silver, which is just real money translated into fake currency and Destiny. It looks like it's about a penny per silver coin. So Destiny's given us, is it 400?
Correct.
400 silver coins, so $4 to spend there at the trading post. And the inexpensive emotes were 200, so $2. And then the legendary ones.
Purples.
Yeah, the slow clap, which is just cool. Anyway, the slow clap was $5. So.
And the Carlton. So overall, it costs you around $40 to be able to purchase all of the emotes that are available.
There were 18, 2 groups of 9?
Correct.
Yeah, 18 of them. Lots of goofy ones, lots of fun ones.
Yeah, they were really cool. I liked them and enjoyed them. I just don't like the idea of having to pay for them. Real dollars, anyways.
I can see that. But I think the real problem is, Jeremy, you're going to buy them.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that everybody's going to buy them because they're awesome and they're hilarious. Therefore, everybody's going to buy them. They let us express our attitude of our Guardians a little more. For instance, I really didn't like that my Awoken Male Hunters, when they wave, they kind of like curtsy. Which is kind of like lame looking compared to the other ones who actually like wave. It looks kind of feminine, I guess, for a male hunter or a male character. I don't know. It kind of bothered me. I wish we could have changed that, so I'd like the ability to be able to do a little more personalization with it. However, I do not like the idea of having to pay for it. I think it's something that should be dropped just like every other item in the game, and we shouldn't have to pay for it because we know what's going to happen after this. This is them testing the waters, like I said last time.
Yep. They're
testing the waters. If they make enough money off of it, shaders, ships, armor color, all the different things are going to start.
Emblems. Yep. All of it. All the cosmetic stuff. I can just see it all happening. But again, like I said last time on the podcast, if they start doing armor or weapons or things that actually make a difference in the game, the game's over. It will be ruined. That's the end. Just terrible. Bungie, please don't do that.
I don't think they'll allow us to be able to do that.
I would hope.
Because we can't do player trading, so there's no reason why they would give us the ability to buy gear all of a sudden. At that point, you might as well just have it be survival of whoever has the most money. Here's all of the weapons. You
Yep.
can buy it whenever you want to, and you can trade it between yourselves. We don't care anymore. That's all
Yep.
it would be.
But 6 months ago, would you have guessed Bungie would have pulled a stunt like this and started selling emotes?
No.
Yeah.
That was kind of a big surprise.
That's the worry. I hope Bungie has the self-control, the monetary control to keep this in check. It doesn't honestly bother me much, but as a father, I do have 2 sons who are going to be all over me wanting, the additional emotes in that. And then considering I'm playing on 2 different platforms, I'm just looking at the dollar signs adding up. So I guess it'll take some self-control on my part.
Yeah, we're going to end up having to purchase. I mean, I'm going to have to buy them on both consoles now, both Xbox One and PlayStation, because I know I'm going to be like in the middle of doing a raid or messing around, and I'm going to hit the button to do an emote, and it's going to be the wrong one. And I'm like, man, I need them both on the same one. So there's that at the very least. I know I'm going to end up having to get them, and I guess we'll see what Bungie does. Hopefully they don't go down the slippery slope, for lack of a better cliche, of selling things to us that don't just need microtransactions. I don't like that at all. It bothers me.
But somehow they know how to do it. They know just what emotes are going to do it. Some of them were a little dumb, but like the Matrix emote was just awesome. The slow clap, there were some baseball ones because you're a big baseball fan, Jeremy. I mean, they just knew, just the ones to hit that they're going to sell like mad. You should have seen everyone there in the tower when everyone was doing their new emotes at each other, and it was pretty fun.
Yeah,
Pretty silly.
They knew what was going to be there. Very much, they are very well aware of who their fan base is and who is actually going to be purchasing these things, and they aimed them right at us. Yeah. And it is what it is. I mean, that's fine. We'll see what happens. As long as they don't do anything that has power, we'll be okay. I don't like the idea of it still. We should have gotten emotes just as drops for other things. And then, you could have like a really cool emote that nobody else can have. Like, I think I mentioned that I wanted one that was like flipping people off because I thought that'd be hilarious. And you can only get it from doing like some ridiculous mission.
It's rated teen though, dude.
So what? Maybe he does like the 3-finger thing and it's like read between the lines is the title of it. That'd be kind of funny. Anyways, I wanted something like that. I wanted something that would be different that you could get as a drop.
No. Guardians of the Galaxy. Or Star-Lord's there doing he's being the Inquisition, and they're asking him questions, and he starts doing the little music box by the side of his hand.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, something like that would be awesome. But
and he's
regardless.
all surprised. Anyway, okay, enough of that. Okay, so yeah, you talked about so there was a new patch also.
Yes.
That came out today. Didn't look like anything real interesting, but I didn't look at the notes well because we jumped in the podcast too quick. So did you see anything?
There's quite a few things of like upgrades or fixes to bugs. Iron Banner came out today as well. So lots of fixes for people who didn't have shaders, who didn't have emblems that weren't showing up. They removed the shot package perks and replaced on shotguns with a non-range boosting perk to make it harder to use shotguns for long range, which is great. They fixed an issue where Black Spindle had an unintended plus 20 attack bonus.
Yeah, people were getting it at 310.
Correct, instead of 290.
Deej whined about that, and so I guess now they're getting them at 290. So the big question is, those who had them at 310, did they just get nerfed down to 290?
Yes, unless you infuse them. So if you infuse them, you won.
Sure, unless you earned it, sure.
No.
Oh, no.
So if you got the 310 roll, you could have infused that into another thing and been able to get your other stuff up to 305, 310 or whatever.
Oh.
And so Deej even said, okay, if you guys did that, you won. You beat the system for now.
Okay.
But if you have a 310, I think it gets dropped to 290 if you acquired it that way.
But then you could just go back to the weapons blueprint, exotic gig, and then just buy the Black Spindle back again.
Yes.
Yeah. And I missed it. Oh, well.
Okay, so players can now reroll stat nodes and upgrade nodes on exotic armor via the Twist Fate node. Twist Fate will require glimmer, armor materials, and a glass needle, which will be available from Zur during his weekly visits.
Interesting.
So we'll be able to change the stuff on the exotic armor only, not on the exotic weapons.
And it sounds like, did I hear that right? It's like the intelligence, discipline, strength. Is that what it's re-rolling?
Stat nodes and upgrade nodes.
Upgrade notes.
So everything pretty much, except for your main perk will stay the same, of course. So the exotic, the namesake perk.
Oh, okay.
But then the
whether
ones
or not
after that will be upgraded. You can be able to change those up.
whether or not you get to carry more shotgun ammo or rock, heavy ammo or okay. Interesting. That's right out of before in House of Wolves where you could re-roll legendary stats.
Yeah.
But this is a little bit more tempered on that. Huh. Okay.
They fixed some issues with quests and bounties, basically just like little glitches here and there. Weekly heroic playlist now shows how many weekly bonus legendary marks award remain, so you'll know how many you have to do to finish it. Fixed an issue where players were not transitioning to return to orbit upon Fogoth's death. It's kind of boring. Same thing with Omnigul. In the King's Fall raid, they increased the number of potential shards and added additional materials in the first King's Fall chest. Blighted Light explosion size has been changed to encompass the entire arena.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's something to do with one of the areas.
Okay.
Crucible stuff has changed a little bit. Nothing really. More bug fixes there. Audio cues and things have been fixed. Thieves' Den has been removed from the Rift playlist, if anybody cares. It's kind of interesting. Removed the Anomaly and Firebase Delphi from Inferno Salvage and Inferno Skirmish playlists. Removed Thieves' Den from Devil's playlist. Added Twilight Gap and Asylum to Elimination playlist. Pretty much it. Iron Banner is now enabled. Recommended light for Iron Banners 230. Game completion rewards have been reworked to be a more valid source for Iron Banner rewards. The more you play, the more stuff you're going to get, basically.
That pulse rifle looks awesome that they're selling an Iron Banner.
Yeah, it does look pretty good.
Outlaw and Third Eye.
Correct.
Awful handy.
Two of my favorite perks there.
Yep.
Trials of Osiris is now back as well. Recommended light of 290. Requires a minimum light of 251, however. And they've increased the matchmaking on that stuff. Well, not in this patch, but previous patches. Sources of motes of light have been adjusted. From completing public events, they have been increased by approximately 100%. So you get more motes of light for doing public events.
Okay.
From earning XP post 40 have been increased from 3 to 5. So when your little blue bar at the bottom fills up, once it gets past the end there and resets, you'll get 5 motes of light instead of 3.
Interesting.
And then the faction rep packages have been reduced from 5 to 4. So if you got 5 motes of light previously, you get 4 now.
Go ahead.
From dismantling rare and legendary items have been reduced by approximately 25 to 30%. Daily Vanguard and Crucible bounties have been reduced by approximately 50% as well. So a few buffs there, and then a few nerfs on where you can get motes of light.
Okay.
Strange coin sources have been adjusted as well.
Nerf, buff, or just mixed up? Nerf.
So faction rep packages have been reduced from 5 to 4. So when you increase reputation from 2th rank in the factions, from now 5 strange coins down to 4. Daily Vanguard and Crucible bounties have been reduced by approximately 50%.
That is a big nerf.
So I think you usually get like 3, so you get like 1.5 somehow. I'm guessing it's just overall, because sometimes you don't get it for completing those bounties.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming, anyways. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Technical issues. They fixed multiple situations that resulted in the game client crashing, including the Ward of Dawn and Firefly crashes, and fixed some issues where audio would drop. So really nothing too crazy there.
I got the audio drops all the time.
Yeah, I was seeing about the Cryptarch too, like you were talking about.
Yep. Hey, Josh told you something interesting. Hey, Josh. About motes of light and what they can be used for. I thought let you.
Oh yeah, I did not realize this, but apparently you can use motes of light to upgrade your weapons. Like, it doesn't seem to work on the gear. I don't know what that's about. But you hover over the mote of light in your inventory and hit use, and it just applies XP basically to your armor. He said it worked for a subclass, but it did not work for
your
subclass
weapon.
for me. Yeah.
To your weapon.
It seems to do it only for the weapon, as far as I can tell. But yeah.
So you took a weapon you had, it was totally unupgraded, and how many motes of light did it take you on a legendary piece to crack it all the way open?
I think it was like 10 or 15.
10 or 15 motes of light. So that's awful handy. So if you get a nice, pretty new drop, you can crank that thing all the way up. And then, of course, you've got to have the glimmer and the materials and blah, 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 whatever it takes to actually use those. but at least they would be available to you and ready to go. So yeah, I did not realize that at all with the motes of light. So instead of, like discarding them, you just hold it, it says use, and then you can just use the mode of light, and then boom, you get a good chunk of experience. So Sleeper Simulant. So we've been doing some research on Sleeper Simulant and Black Spindle. The Sleeper Simulant, it appears that you have to have the 4 legendary gun pieces already and return them to the gunsmith in order for the next step of the Sleeper Simulant quest to begin. So if you're out there and you're doing whatever it is, I've had the most luck with like heroic strikes and that, and you get a little triangle on the ground and you go and pick it up, and it is a legendary gun, and you're awful confused. You're checking your inventory and you're going, I don't see a legendary gun. You get back to the tower, the gunsmith is asking for your attention. You head over there and it says turn in legendary weapon, and you're like kind of heartbroken. You're like, wait a minute, I want that gun. You turn it in and it's gone. You have to do that 4 times. That's the first part of Sleeper Simulant. And then Bungie released the next step of the quest for 1 day, and that was last Tuesday, so a week ago. So if you had turned in those 4, then you got the new quest, and it's something firewall, and it's on Earth, I believe.
First firewall. It's in Rasputin's bunker where you first meet Omnigul-ish.
Yeah. So, yeah, the first firewall, and that's it. You got to do that particular step that day, and then the rest of Sleeper Simulant you can finish on your own time. So those of us who missed it, like myself, fear not. Bungie says it's coming back soon, whatever that means. Maybe a week. Maybe it's been a week now. Maybe 2 weeks. Don't know. We'll definitely tell you as soon as we see it hit. So if you didn't get the opportunity, turn in those gun parts and just hang tight. And always check in on a Tuesday. It seems to go with the weekly reset, and you'll get that new mission to do. And you really want to do that. And then Black Spindle, we did some digging on that, Jeremy. What did we come up with?
So you just can't wipe when you're trying to do the mission. So that's the one that goes on the Daily Heroic. If that mission is on the Daily Heroic, it's the one where you are going back into where you get Crota's soul, the shard.
Yeah.
And you go in there and you fight this ogre for a few seconds, and then he gets taken by Oryx, and then
you got to run.
Yes.
You just got to bolt out of there. But there was a misconception that part was timed, and it's not.
Yes.
You just cannot die. And so you run, you head toward where you do the orbs, and you got to put the orbs in the doors, and you get to the part where there's 3 orbs, and you don't necessarily need to do that. You head off through a hallway like you're going to go take on Taniks, and it's actually where you fight Taniks and all that. Head up the elevator, and somewhere in there the timer does start, and then you can go ahead and die and stuff like that. Feel free. You got 10 minutes, and you have to fight your way all the way to the part where Taniks would normally be, kill some big old boss dude in there, and then kill all the rest of the ads in the room, and you got to do it under 10 minutes. And if you pull it off, you're guaranteed Black Spindle, which is a beautiful exotic sniper rifle that a lot of people have been saying is awful handy in the Taken King raid.
Yeah, one of the keys, the King's Fall.
King's Fall, that's it. I can come up with it.
So what do you think of the idea of the Sleeper Simulant quest? So for a quick breakdown on that, you do the first mission, which is not an entirely easy mission, by the way. It's actually relatively difficult to do the mission.
It's one in...
it's in the bunker with Rasputin, like where you first meet Omnigul.
Yeah, the first time you meet Omnigul in that round room, and guys just give like 5 waves. 5, 6?
4.
4?
4
waves.
So after you do that, you get this little piece. It's a legendary piece in your inventory, and it's in a category in your inventory called missions, which I never noticed prior to this. It has it down there. Now you open it up, and it says enter code to continue. And so you have to enter in the code. You have to do that 4 times, or 3 or 4, one of the two.
It's 4 lines of code or something. There's ones and zeros, I believe.
Well, what the code actually is, it's the order the knights spawn in during that mission. So how anybody figured this out, I don't know. Because the knights spawn in, you have taken knights and you have hive knights that spawn in different, and they spawn in like one behind the other. So they represent the 2 rows of the...
Goodness.
Yeah. So people figured this out in a matter of in a day or so. We figured this out.
It's all over the internet. If you just Google it,
Yeah.
you'll get the code, or you can go ahead and step into madness and try to figure it out yourself.
But one of the interesting things was that people were all over this. I mean, we knew the Sleeper Simulant was there. It was very much sought after, very much looked for throughout the release of Taken King, and it just wasn't there. I mean, we had the little poster in our collector's edition.
Yeah.
It was all over that Game Informer piece, and then all of a sudden nobody had it. Where was it? People went mad looking for it, and then it just shows up one day. So we know that there's more things that Bungie has in store. But after you finish those codes, then you do a mission where you have to go and climb a tower.
It's speed run, right?
Yes, speed run to the top of the tower.
Yeah.
It was relatively simple. It's kind of difficult, not very fun. You have 4 minutes to complete the mission. You do that, and then you have to complete the archive mission on any difficulty to get some little piece, which seemed like a really random part of the quest. And then you had to do 3 war stats on Earth, Mars, and the Moon. You had to defend the war stats, which is really boring. And then you had to dismantle a legendary heavy weapon, which is kind of painful if you don't have a whole lot of them. Then you wait one more day, and then you get the
then you got to wait a day. So you break it down, and then you got to chill.
Yep, and then it just shows up.
Yep.
Done.
So the key, though, on timing is that Tuesday, the first firewall mission. You got 1 day. When that pops up, you got to run with it and get it done. I saw one of the guys here at the office did it. It took him 10, 15 minutes. It's a rough mission, but it didn't take very long. I think it's pretty cool that Bungie's doing that, where you have a very defined mission. Well, I shouldn't say very defined. There are very exact steps that you go through, and at the end, you get the exotic. You compare that to, say, Galahorn, and Galahorn was just flat out random. End of story. Yeah, it did show up as Zur eventually, and it did show up with Zur way back at the beginning of the game. But for the vast majority of the people, the only way to do it was just play, and cross your fingers and hope you got it. So this is, I think it's definitely cooler. One thing. Well, you'll have to talk to it because I didn't get it because I didn't have the 4 pieces to begin with, so I didn't get the mission, but you did. How do you feel about it?
It's okay. It's not like fantastic. I think it's really good, but it's missing some of the key points that the Galahorn had. So there's no tracking on it, obviously. It's a heavy fusion rifle. I think it can carry like 8 rounds maybe if you have the right gear and stuff. I'm not sure. So 3 in the clip and then 3 in the magazine and then the rest in reserve. It's all right. It hits pretty hard. I'll give it that. It's not a Galahorn, though. I mean, I've missed more shots with it than I've landed. Maybe that's just a testament to my skill. I don't know. But it's kind of hard. You have to charge it, and it's very slow to handle because it's heavy. So it's slow to handle. You have to charge it. And you're going to primarily be using it against heavier things like wizards and ogres and things like that. And you don't have any, like, flight time on it or anything like that, so you have to hit them where they are right now, and there's no tracking like Galahorn, where Galahorn you just like got him in the sights, let loose and just ran away and just hope for the best. There's none of that. And then the perk on it where the projectile bounces 5 times, I don't really know what that's good for.
Maybe in very specific situations. I mean, Crucible, that might be kind of interesting, but like Court of Oryx, there's nothing to bounce off.
Exactly.
Of.
It's open and just shoots off into the distance.
Yeah, they're just gone.
Maybe it'd be fun like in the Thrallway or something. Like all the way down and just wreck all of them with one shot. But other than that, I can't think of any circumstances where that would actually be useful.
I don't know. Well, what did you think about the process of getting it?
It was easier than it should have been. I don't know if Bungie realizes how like insane of community they've created and how like absorbed they are with this game. I like the idea of everything trickling down kind of like over time, but I don't at the same time. I feel like Bungie's kind of like, hey, don't you want to spend a few more hours playing this game this week? Oh, what about next week? We're going to spend a few more hours doing it. And they're just kind of like slowly dragging all of your time into the game because they keep trickling these things, as opposed to before it was, here's the new stuff, done. You do your thing, you play it.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're getting at. Yeah.
And so you can kind of gauge your time. You aren't going to miss anything. We have fear of missing out now. Like, oh crap, if we don't make sure we have all these little stupid pieces, who knows what's going to happen next time. Next time it's going to be this crazy rocket launcher you've never heard of, and we're going to be screwed because we didn't have the stuff.
Yeah, and just like I was saying, every Tuesday you got to jump in there, you got to check and see if you got the new the mission, the first firewall mission. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's this constant pull to get back into the game. That's an interesting way to put it. And Bungie's even made it clear that there's more to come.
Yeah.
And they even hinted at today there would be more to come. So that just occurred to me. What the heck are they talking about?
They said Iron Banner stuff.
Yes, so I said heck. So there you go, guys.
I'm assuming there's some kind of Iron Banner related stuff.
I
don't know.
So we had a kind of I don't want to say a running bet, but we had a vigorous discussion here amongst the employees here at Front Point about engrams and whether or not an engram was determined when you turned it in at the cryptarch or when it dropped. And so we thought, and Jeremy came up with a great hypothesis. And so we ran with it, and I'll let him talk about what we figured out and how we figured it out.
Well, a little bit of backstory on this. So this all started when I picked up a Gallahorn from a legendary engram. It was day here in the office. It was a Friday. Zur was in town, and he had the last word.
This was months ago, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't have enough strange coins to get the last word at the time. And now I have like a backlog of like 200. But regardless, at that time, I didn't have enough. And so I was panicking. I was like, holy crap, I need the last word. Because I loved that gun because it was so cool looking. I didn't even care if it worked or not. So I was playing with my Titan. And my Titan was lower level. So I was just trying to do strikes just to get strange coins. And I picked up a legendary engram. We went back to the tower, just messing around. And we decoded it. And it was a Gallahorn. And of course, we were laughing. And like, holy crap, that was the first one of them that anybody else had gotten.
Yep.
Well, I was curious as to whether or not it was the Gallahorn immediately when I picked it up or whether it was when I got it decoded. That was the question that we had, was when was that the Gallahorn? Because it would further impact our ability, it would impact our thoughts and superstitions on decoding things at the cryptarch. Yep. Like whether we should run around in a circle 10 times and do a dance before you go to the cryptarch.
Or vault of glass, people shooting rockets at the exotic chest. And if you did that, then, Gallahorn would be in it. So, that sort of stuff.
We had a superstition of like, when does this happen? And so we kind of tested it in multiple ways. We tested it by accident, now that I think about it, a while ago. And I didn't realize it until we were talking about this. But we also tested it before House of Wolves. We saved up you saved all of your engrams. I did not.
I saved up somewhere around 30 or 40 engrams before House of Wolves dropped to see if after House of Wolves came through, if when I decoded those engrams, if any of it would be House of Wolves gear. And it was not a single piece. It was all Dark Below or, from the start gear. None of it. So we said to ourselves, okay, well, then it is determined when it is dropped. Go ahead.
Correct. And I further tested this because I read somewhere that you could transfer hydronic essence and sapphire wire and plasteel plating if you gave the gear that was purchased on. So if I got Titan boots on my Hunter, if I dismantled it, it was plasteel plating, which is true. So I thought to myself, oh, I'm smart. I'm going to take my engrams that I have that are gear. I'm going to give them my Warlock because I really need hydronic essence. I'm going to have her decrypt them, and they should turn into Warlock gear, and I can get more hydronic essence. Since my Hunter is full crap, I have a good build. I don't need anything. Wrong. At the time, and this is House of Wolves time,
yes,
the gear was Hunter gear. It was dismantled into Hunter gear. So I realized, oh, crap, that engram, when I picked it up, was already decided that it was a Hunter piece of gear Whether or not it was those specific boots or anything was to be seen, but it was hunter gear, which means it knows I picked it up with my hunter.
Yep.
So this led us to the thoughts that, hey, the engrams were decided when you pick them up. So we got into a conversation about it the other day. We're like, is that the case? And one of the other people here said, no, it's when you decrypt it, you have to put on your best gear, blah, 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 blah.
You got to be at your highest light level possible when you decrypt your gear. You guys are probably, who are listening to this, have heard that. Put on your best gear, highest light level whenever you decrypt stuff, so that when you decrypt it, it's at the higher gear. But both Jeremy and I said, no.
Yeah, we said based off our previous test, this clearly cannot be the case.
Yep.
So I said, wait a minute. We have an Xbox in the office. I have my hunter who's like 250 on an Xbox because I switched to PlayStation. I have a warlock who's like 160. That's a huge gap there. So let's see how my Titan's even lower than that. I think my Titan's like 120 or something. Anyways, So we decided like, hey, why don't we get some engrams with your hunter, hand them to your Titan, and see what happens.
Yep.
Because they should be, if we are correct, the engrams are when you pick them up, they should be decoded at level 300-ish or level...
or 250-ish.
Level 250-ish
Yeah.
hunter gear. If the other person's correct, then it should be 150-ish.
It would match the character
Exactly.
decrypting it. So the Titan decrypting it at like 120.
Yeah.
120. Yeah, everything would decrypt around Titan gear and about 120 and stuff like that. So what would happen? Go ahead.
So we went and did Court of Oryx for like 15 minutes and got about 5 engrams. And we took them, put them in the vault, grabbed my Titan, went to the vault, grabbed all my engrams, and decrypted them. Sure enough, they were Titan gear at the level of the Titan.
Yeah, like 120. So we picked it up with a hunter at 250, decrypted it with a Titan at 120, and it was Titan gear at 120.
So this means that they were correct. The decrypting is when you're at the cryptarch. And so we said, hold on a minute. Does this work in reverse, though? Can you actually kind of exploit this to a degree? And so we said, okay, let's try it out. So we did the same thing. We took my Titan, did Court of Oryx for a few minutes, grabbed 5 or 6 engrams, took them back to my hunter. And also on my Titan, I had engrams from year 1 still. I still had some engrams sitting there. And so I decrypted those, and they were year 1 gear.
Yep.
So then we took the Titan, we did the engram, we got some engrams, put them back in there, took them to my hunter. Bam, sure enough, they were 250 gear. And actually it was like better gear than I had, and I had to level up the character with it. And it was interesting because this led us to the conclusion that we could kind of exploit it to a degree.
Correct. So you could take, a lower level guy, farm a bunch of engrams, a bunch of pieces. No. In reverse. Well, no. Yeah. Lower guy, bunch of engrams, drop it in the vault, hand it to a higher level guy. But here's the kicker. This is where we hit a wall, partial wall. Let's say you have a character who's very high, 300, 305, something like that. Have that character decrypt those engrams so they come out at in the 300s. Then hand that stuff to the lower level guy so that you can bring him up very fast. The kicker, though, was, if you notice what Jeremy said a moment ago, is it will decrypt to that class. So if it is a hunter, a level 300 hunter that decrypts that, it will be level 300 hunter gear. And so it would be worthless to, say, your lower level Titan. Unless you did all hunters or all warlocks, all 3 of them, then you could overcome that. And you could, get the engrams on a lower level, hand it to the higher level guy, have him decrypt it, and then hand it back. And it would bring your lower level guys up very quickly that way.
Or you could infuse things using the infusion process. So if you had legendary items, regardless of what light level they were, you could infuse them with your hunter gear that was higher level to bring yourself up if you wanted to do that.
Of course, you have to have a level 300 plus character.
Yeah, this is kind of a diminishing return because, really, so you have to grind with your warlock or your Titan or whatever other character. You would grind with them, and then you would gather a bunch of engrams, which would bring you up in level slightly. Sure, so let's say you're 200 and you're grinding through, getting a bunch of engrams, hand them off to your 305 character, you get 305 gear, hand it back, infuse it, blah, 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 and now you are 280 something or 250 or whatever you may be after that. Well, as you continue to do that, eventually, you can only do like once, basically.
Oh, good
Otherwise,
point.
you're up to the max level, practically that max light level, and it really doesn't matter anymore at that point.
Yeah. And you're talking about infusing. So if they're different classes, the real only benefit would be infusing, which means you have to have, decent legendary gear you'd even want to infuse.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of a diminishing return, but it's interesting because it means that they've changed it between year 1 and year 2.
Yep.
They decided to alter the way that was done.
And I remember in the notes when they said that Taken King, that the Cryptarch was going to be more intelligent. And I think that's exactly what it was getting at, is when you decrypt those, it looks at what level you are, what class you are, and I suspect even what gear you already have and stuff like that, and then come up with more intelligent decryptions for you.
Which means that you could, in theory, and this is a really good idea now that I just thought of it, I'm a genius, you could use all 3 of your characters, farm a crap ton of engrams across all of them, because the drop rates for characters should be different. So you could just continue, don't decrypt your engrams ever, except for on your high-level character.
Yeah.
And then just take them all in. But then so the whole gear stuff is where it gets weird.
Okay, well, I don't play multiple characters, so do you have different levels with the Cryptarch amongst your characters?
Yes.
So those lower level characters would miss out on leveling up with the Cryptarch, at least initially.
So you don't get motes of light, whoop-de-doo.
Which I guess you could throw in your vault and hand them down that way too. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Interesting stuff with how to decrypt engrams.
But it could be really beneficial for somebody who has a 310 character trying to bring some like 290s up to 305 or something like that. That's where it really would come in pretty good, come in handy. You could hand off all those weapon engrams and all that stuff. Because if you're like 290, it means you probably have some pretty good legendary gear that you've got hanging out. You've probably got some stuff you want to hang on to, in which case, if you have a higher level character to decrypt those things for you, and you can get them higher, you can infuse that stuff even more. That's where it becomes really beneficial, I would think, would be, well, not really beneficial, but more so than, it's only if you have characters that are close together that it doesn't really help. Correct. If you have these drastic differences, these big differences between them, that's where it starts to make difference. Or if you have somebody at the cap and you want to bring that person up to the cap, that's where they start to be really beneficial to try that.
At the same time as I'm thinking about it, legendary engrams and exotic engrams would be a must. You would absolutely want to have your higher level character decode those. That way you would have a much higher probability of that legendary piece being very high to begin with, and you don't have to infuse it to get it much higher.
As long as it's not gear.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you have
weapons.
The same.
Weapons.
Yeah, weapons, exactly.
Yeah, weapons. That would be huge. That would be an absolute must with exotic weapon engrams and legendary engrams. Always have your highest level character crack those.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what we learned this week, I guess.
I had a sob theory story idea, something to chew on. As I've been playing the new Taken King, and bemoaning the fact that all my gear is trash, and the reload speed, and not having my perks, and having worked so hard to get weapons before the Taken King that had really good perks that were snappy and felt good, and then building your character build and all that, having all that taken away, just gone. And now dealing with even rare items that are very high level at very few perks, or junk perks and all that, and you're just fighting to get up to the higher light levels and stuff like that. It is a little bit depressing going through that, and going into a fight and having these terrible reloads on your primary and etc. There is definitely good gear in the Taken King. I'm still working on getting it, and I know I'm going to build my character back up, and it's going to be just awesome, especially with the future DLCs coming out in that gear, all this sorts of stuff. What if at year 3 they do it again? They do the same thing they did, where they basically just trash all the gear that we have, and you have to start over. How interested would you be, Jeremy, in doing this again? And then even year 4, year 5, it's just a hypothetical question. How long do you think you could do this?
They have to. It's inevitable. I mean, they literally have to do it every single year. It's impossible for them not to. Just for the simple fact of that they want to make money, they need to sell a game, and they need to pick up new players. We briefly talked about this before, and I mentioned people who are 11, 12, 13 years old now, 5 years from now, they're going to be playing this game, and there's going to be a huge difference in the amount of experience and the amount of time and the gear and everything that people have from now until then. So if they don't reset everything again, then those people are completely left in the dust. And it'd be not very fun to play,
Well, but I question, what would it matter? Who cares? What if they went ahead and let the year 1 gear continue? And what if they allowed us to infuse it and, to pull it up higher? Who cares?
Because then we're not going to use the new weapons. We're not going to use the new gear. We're not going to be...
Maybe they'll find new gear that is better, and or why not give us that choice? I'm tired of using icebreaker or something like that. I'm going to try this other weapon. I mean, why is it that they really are forcing this? I mean, they even nerfed Galahorn to a point. Before the Taken King came out. Who cares? Why not let it go? And then 5, 6 years, 10 years down the road or something, a new person joins the game. There'll be plenty of, common, uncommon, rare weapons that they can pick up. Basically doing what I'm doing at the moment, working your way up through, picking up gear and all that sort of stuff. And who cares if somebody's using a gun that's 8 years old? It makes me question why. Why did Destiny really need to do that? And go ahead. What do you think?
Well, it's a double-edged sword, man. They're going to piss off their base, but they're not going to get new people. But then also they're going to... They made a bunch of overpowered weapons in year 1 that they didn't think were that powerful until they figured out that apparently they have one of the craziest communities that exists, and we can figure out how to take advantage of everything that they gave us. I mean, we had guns that automatically reloaded. We had guns that exploded. We had wolf pack rounds. We had guns that if you hit 3 precision shots, it reloaded, so unlimited ammo practically. I mean, they gave us so much stuff. And I think they were like conceptual ideas they came up with, like, oh, this would be such a cool thing to have. Let's make this gun. And then they're like, yeah, except everybody has that gun now, and everybody uses it in the Vault of Glass to beat it without having to do anything. They just sit there and just shoot the stupid oracles, which are supposed to be a very difficult part. And then we figured out all these ways to do things, and they like nerfed all of our stuff because they're like, oh my gosh, guys, like, come on, like, you have to really beat this. Come on, stop trying to do this. And we see it now even, like, where they keep nerfing things as we go on.
Well, that argument is on the basis that Bungie made a terrible mistake. And who's to say they're not going to make a mistake, with year 2 and they're going to wipe it? And it doesn't seem to me like it is a really good. Well, I mean, apparently Bungie thought it was a good enough reason to wipe it all and to move forward. And I guess if the reason is because they made a mistake, then that gives me hope that they've learned from it and they're not going to do it again.
Oh, yeah.
That come year 3, we're just going to be able to infuse. We're just going to be able to continue to use the weapons and the gear that we fought so hard to get and just keep moving forward with it as the light levels go up.
I think that they did learn their lesson, judging by how underpowered Sleeper Simulant is compared to Galahorn. I think they learned their lesson. I think they know. And remember that also the weapon output is based off of your character now, not just the weapon itself.
Correct. Oh,
so
yeah, good
that's
point.
a very important thing to remember.
Okay.
So all they have to do I mean, we can keep infusing weapons all we want to, but maybe there's an upper limit on the weapons. Maybe they'll make it so I only go so far, blah, 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 blah. But, I mean, there's a whole new way of determining damage outputs now compared to before.
That's a good point. But, why limit them? Why not just let them keep going? When year 4 drops or whatever, and if they even do recycle it and we start getting common drops again that are very high leveled, let us go ahead and fuse those into our legendaries that we have now. I hope my hope is that Bungie is not going to take our guns and our armor and all of our gear away again. Just let us keep it, and let us make the decision. I want to use that or this or that. I mean, to me, it seems really cool that, say, 8 years down the road, we just have a ridiculous amount of exotic weapons to choose from and legendary weapons and armor. Who cares? Why not? Why flush it all and reset it every year? That's my hope. Bungie, because I know you guys listen to our podcast all the time. Whatever. That would be, don't. Why even bother?
I think it just comes down to year one. They beta tested Destiny. They realized that we made some crazy overpowered weapons, because it feels like the weapons this year are much more tame.
Agreed.
There's a few that are like super cool, like Touch of Malice, and I'm really excited to see what the heck is the one for the Stranger's Rifle exotic?
Oh, you told me. I don't remember.
I don't remember what it's called either now.
Well, I think another point to that, what you're saying right now, is when's the last time you saw a rocket launcher that had tracking?
Well, you have the Titan helmet that'll give you tracking on every rocket launcher.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not showing up. I mean, I haven't seen one yet. I'm sure they're out there, but not to the degree that they used to be.
Truth. There's a year 2 version of that too.
Oh yeah,
and that had more aggressive tracking than Galahorn.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think they made really overpowered weapons. Hence why the exotics that we saw going to year 2 were like the more bland and boring ones. Like Thunderlord is a very good gun, yes, but it's no Galahorn.
Yeah.
It's no Icebreaker. And so, Suros Regime is going into year 2, and I have the year 2 version, and it's fantastic. But it's not like some super overpowered, awesome weapon. It's just like a really good auto rifle. That's it. It's not anything spectacular. It's just a really good auto rifle. That end of story. So I think they learned the lesson. So they're going to let us carry these weapons. Maybe not.
I hope.
If I think they will, because they're not as powerful, and I think that they'll let us continue with them because they're going to give us new guns in year 3 that are even better than these ones, and they're going, instead of forcing us to use the new guns, I think they're going to let us pick to use the new guns of like, oh, well, I really like this crazy gun that I found in year 2 that has these crazy perks, but that thing over there is really awesome, and I want that one instead. So That's what I'm going for.
Yep. Incentivize us to change rather than force it through, forcing us to change by just, trashing everything.
By being game Nazis?
That's right. But even at that, you did the math, and let's just pretend that your character is 310. Straight up, you've maxed everything out, and you whip out year 1 Galahorn. What would your light level be, Jeremy?
If it's a 170 Galahorn or 296. If it's 160, I think it's 294.
Yep.
I think I do. Yeah, I can't, because we were looking today and I was confused because.
Well, it'll be 310 times 9.
So 310 times 9 equals 2790 plus 160 equals.
Well, plus 1's do 170, man.
Well, 160 is what was showing up in my vault, remember? I think that's the year. The only stuff that was 170 was the House of Wolf stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, 170 would be if it was a 365 if it was maxed out. I'd do it at 160 then.
Mine was.
I mean, at a minute, yeah. Our little
310
hypothetical
times 9 plus 160 equals 2950. Divide that by 10 equals 295.
295. See, that's still raid worthy. So you can take Galahorn into the raid, because remember, your damage is determined by your character's light level, not the light level of the particular weapon. So it would still be a legitimate gun in that situation.
Yeah, could be, but they nerfed Galahorn anyway, so whatever.
Still, it'd be kind of fun to give it a shot and see what would happen. So if any of you guys are out there, that you are well up into the 300s and you got Galahorn, bust it out. Let us know. Tell us if there's any glimmer of hope left out there that Galahorn could still be something fun to play with.
Until they raise the light level 320.
Yeah, if they when they release the raid on hard mode.
I don't know. I think I'll keep going. I think then even then it's just all your other gears 320, and then Gallahorn would further just be.
Yeah, it would just continue to drag you down more and more in time.
I guess. I don't know.
I mean, at that point, I can't imagine being able to do the raid on hard mode with Gallahorn.
Oh yeah,
I think you'd be pulled down too far, but everything else you'd be fine.
304.
Then one thing we got to do, Jeremy, is with all these new weapons that are just tremendously more powerful than the year one weapons, we got to go do the raids again.
Yeah.
Vault of Glass and that. I heard Sleeper Simulant just wrecks Atheon, just crazy nuts.
Yeah, we need to go do the raids and whatever. Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else this week?
That's all I got, man.
That's all I've got. Thanks for listening this week, Guardians. We didn't introduce ourselves at the beginning, but as always, we are your hosts. My name is Jeremy Wright, and I go by the gamertag IT Outlaw on PlayStation, Xbox, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and anywhere else I probably have an account. It's somewhere under that name.
And I'm Dan Stanford, and I go by Mutant Entree, and I have no idea what this social media stuff is.
So thanks for listening. Sorry that we went on this week. Hopefully we'll see you next week. I